The night had teeth. Dust hung in the saloon air, caught in lantern light that glowed like whiskey poured through smoke. Laughter, loud and mean, rolled from the corner table where Jed Hawkins and his crew sat dealing cards and bruised egos. The piano player, sensing tension, slowed to a nervous trickle of notes before giving up altogether. That's when he walked in. Clay Maddox, tall, broad through the shoulders, wearing a hat pulled low enough to hide half his face. His boots were travel-worn, but his stride was steady, unhurried. He looked like a man who didn't owe the world a damn thing. The saloon door swung shut behind him, cutting off the desert wind but not its silence. Jed was the first to break it. "Well, look at this," he called, voice slick as oil. "Another cowboy passing through, thinking he can drink with real men." Clay didn't bother answering. He moved to the bar, set a silver coin down, and said, "Whiskey." "Neat." The bartender, a wiry man named Old Ben, poured carefully, hands steady but eyes wary. "Ain't from around here, are you?" "No, sir," Clay said. "Just passing through." Jed laughed from his table. "Passing through or hiding from someone?" The men chuckled, the kind of laughter that doesn't need to be funny, just cruel. Clay took his drink, turned slowly, and met Jed's grin without flinching. That's when Jed said it, the dare that would hang in the air like gun smoke. "Tell you what, stranger. Let's show you a Red Valley welcome. Pick any girl you want tonight, on the house." The girls froze. Some tried to smile like it was all in fun. Others looked at their shoes. Lila sat alone in the corner, pretending to read a worn deck of cards. She was taller than most men, her shoulders broad, her hands rough from work. She'd been the butt of every joke since the day she'd set foot in this town. Too big, they called her. Too plain. When the other women danced, she served drinks. When the laughter turned sharp, she bit her tongue until it bled. Clay's gaze drifted across the room. The red dress, the painted smiles, the eyes that dared him to pick them just to prove he wasn't scared. Then his eyes stopped, on her. Lila felt it before she saw it, the quiet stillness that comes when the world forgets to breathe. Clay raised his glass once, drank, and set it down. "Her," he said, "the one you call too big." The room fell silent. Jed's smirk slipped, replaced by a sneer. "You jokin', cowboy, you can have any. I said her." Clay's voice didn't rise, but it carried. "And I don't repeat myself." Lila's face flushed hot, every eye turned toward her. A dozen emotions hit at once: shock, anger, a strange, unfamiliar ache that felt too close to hope. Jed stood, his chair scraping against the floorboards. "Guess you got poor taste," he said. "But don't say we didn't warn you." Clay's lips twitched. Something like a smile, though not the friendly kind. "I don't take advice from men who hide behind laughter." He tipped his hat toward Lila. "Miss." And just like that, he walked past the staring faces and out into the cool desert night. Lila didn't know what made her follow. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the simple need to feel seen after too long of being invisible. She found him leaning against the hitching post, staring out toward the black horizon. "You didn't have to do that," she said, voice low. "I don't need savin'." Clay didn't look at her. "Didn't think you did. Then why?" He turned then, and she saw his eyes, gray as a storm coming over the plains. "Because a man's worth is shown by the kind of laughter he joins in," he said. "And theirs wasn't worth joining." She crossed her arms. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." He nodded toward the saloon. "They call you too big. But I saw a woman who doesn't shrink to make small men feel taller." Lila blinked hard, caught between disbelief and something that felt too tender to name. "You talk like you read it off a church wall." He chuckled. "Maybe. Or maybe I've been around enough fools to recognize one when I hear them laugh." The night stretched quiet again. Somewhere far off, a coyote cried. Lila looked down at her hands, calloused and rough. "They'll never let you live it down, you know." "Good," Clay said. "Gives them something to talk about while I get some sleep." That earned him a smile. Small, cautious, but real. "You're a strange man, Mr. Maddox." "Probably." He stepped closer, enough that the lantern light caught the edge of his jaw. "But strange is better than cruel." For a long moment, neither spoke. The world felt still, like the wind itself was listening. Finally, Lila said, "You really meant it. Back there." He nodded once. "I don't pick what I don't want." Her heart kicked against her ribs. "Well," she said, forcing a laugh to soften the weight in her chest, "you sure picked the wrong girl to impress." Clay smiled. "Did I?" She didn't answer. But when she turned toward the saloon, she realized the laughter inside sounded smaller than before, like something wounded had finally been silenced. The dawn came quiet but sharp, spilling gold over the edge of the mountains like a promise the land never quite kept. Red Valley was already awake, the blacksmith's hammer striking rhythm on iron, the grocer sweeping dust from his porch, and the whispers starting like bees around a hive. By breakfast, everyone knew. The stranger picked Lila May. The words carried through town with that curious mix of disbelief and delight people save for gossip that costs them nothing. Some said it was pity, some said it was whiskey, and a few said maybe Clay Maddox was just plain blind. Lila heard it all. She was behind the counter at the saloon when the first customers came in, pretending to polish glasses. Each snicker burned a little more than she wanted to admit. She told herself it didn't matter, that men like Clay passed through towns like hers every day and never looked back. But her chest felt too tight, her hands too restless. Old Ben, the barkeep, gave her a sideways glance. "You all right, girl?" "Fine," she said, "just tired." He grunted, unconvinced. "Town's got more noise than usual. Don't let it get under your skin." "Doesn't bother me," she lied. The saloon doors creaked open then, and every voice dropped half an octave. Clay Maddox stepped inside, same slow walk, same quiet confidence. His hat tipped low, a shadow cutting across his jaw. He looked like trouble in a way that made silence follow him. Jed Hawkins sat at his usual table, smirking like a man rehearsing a fight. "Well, if it ain't the hero himself," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "How's your choice treatin' you this fine morning?" Lila's heart stuttered. Clay didn't even glance his way. He walked straight to the bar and set 2 coins down. "Breakfast?" Ben asked. "For 2, Clay said. Lila froze mid-polish. "For 2, he turned to her. "You hungry, Miss Lila?" The entire room watched her. She could feel their eyes, hungry, mocking, curious. But when she met Clay's gaze, there wasn't a hint of pity there. Just steady, quiet patience. Sure," she said softly. "I could eat." "Then we'll eat," Clay said simply. Ben chuckled under his breath and went to fetch coffee. Jed muttered something crude, earning a few low laughs from his friends. Lila pretended not to hear, but Clay did. His head turned slightly, his tone even but cold as creek stone. "You got something to say, Hawkins?" Jed leaned back in his chair. "Just curious, is all. Never thought I'd see the day a man picked a horse to dance with." The laughter that followed was short-lived. Clay was already standing, calm, collected, hand resting on his hip just near enough his gun to make the room forget how to breathe. "You talk too much for a man who's never been hit hard enough," Clay said quietly. Jed swallowed, the smirk trembling just enough to show the truth. He wasn't nearly as brave as his mouth. "Didn't mean nothin' by it." "Sure you did," Clay said. "You just meant it where you thought nobody'd answer back." The silence that followed was heavy, alive with the sound of fear pretending to be laughter. Clay didn't wait for an apology. He turned back to the bar, sat beside Lila, and nodded when Ben placed their plates down. "Eat," he said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Lila tried to, though her hands shook around the fork. "You didn't have to do that," she murmured. "I know," he said, eyes still on his plate. "But it needed doin'. Now they'll just talk more. Let 'em. Talking's easy. Living's harder." She looked at him then, really looked, at the faint scars near his jaw, the quiet steadiness in his posture. He wasn't a showman, wasn't doing it for her or anyone else. It was just who he was. "You're not from anywhere near here, are you?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Nowhere that matters anymore." She hesitated. "You planning to leave soon?" "When the road stops askin' me to walk it," he said. "But not today." That answer shouldn't have made her heart skip, but it did. They finished eating in near silence. The room around them buzzed with the kind of noise that comes from people pretending not to watch. Clay stood first, left a few more coins on the bar, and tipped his hat. "Thank you, Miss Lila," he said. For the company, she nodded, words catching somewhere behind her throat. And thank you, for not letting them talk down to me. His gaze softened. They only talk down because they've never looked up. Then he walked out, the doors swinging behind him, sunlight spilling in his wake. Lila stood there long after he'd gone, staring at the dust motes dancing in the beam of light. For the first time in years, she didn't feel too big. She felt seen. Jed's voice cut through her thoughts. He'll be gone by sundown, you know. They always are. She turned, meeting his smirk with a steady calm she didn't know she had. Maybe, she said, but you'll still be here. Same table, same laugh, same smile. The men at his table went quiet. And as Lila picked up Clay's empty cup, she realized something simple and sharp. She didn't need saving. She just needed reminding that there was nothing wrong with being more than what this town could carry. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of horses and freedom. Somewhere out there, the cowboy rode slow through the dust, his hat tipped against the sun. And maybe, just maybe, he smiled, knowing he'd left something behind worth more than gold. This is the story of the Wild West. A place where every man's worth is measured by his courage, and his aim. If you love tales of cowboys, grit, and glory, then hit that subscribe button. Smash the bell icon, and don't miss a single ride into the dust and danger of the frontier. Because out here, every story leaves a mark. Welcome to the Wild West story.